Hello, my name is Shiv Malik. I'm the head of communications at Streamr, and this is our third live AMA. We're in front of a live audience this time. Yay! See, they're real. This isn't a scam. There we go. We are coming to the end of the year, and there are lots of announcements to make, lots of updates, and lots of previews into 2019 that we'd like to share with you. You're going to meet 5 other Streamr contributors, including Henri himself, who's going to come on at the end and answer some of your questions that you posted very kindly on Reddit. So let's get stuck into it because we've got a lot to get through. First up is Ross Harrington. Ross is our brand design lead, and he's been working on what you're about to see. Some of you may have noticed that we obviously published a blog a couple of days ago about the product design preview for 2019. And working alongside you on the team, obviously, is the Chief Design Officer, Matt Innes, and Saori Kajiwara, who's the product designer. So, tell me about the update. Let's get stuck into it. What's coming for 2019 for Q1? Q1.
So, one of the big things we're going to be launching in Q1 is a sort of a revamp of the editor, and also a kind of a unified view for all of the Streamr parts of the Streamr platform to kind of be all in the one place, which we haven't had up until now. So that will make it really quite a seamless experience for people logging in, using the editor, switching to the marketplace, for example. I'll scroll down and show you. Here you'll see we had the previous, or up until now, the apps have all looked slightly different and inconsistent. Like this is kind of how it is now with the old Streamr logo. But obviously,
so on the left here we have the current marketplace.
So sorry, on the right is the current. That's how it is now. On the left is what will be launched shortly. It's been inconsistent, but we're going to be launching it all in a consistent way where all of the apps or all the parts of the platform are unified in this same view.
Okay, so what does that mean in a sense? You're bringing together the editor and the marketplace into one unified view there, and you can see the video behind us shows all the elements of that brought into that one view, right?
Yeah, so this is an example of a user page. So this user is logged in and they can navigate through, and they can hear that they're looking at transactions, purchases they've made on the marketplace, products, dashboards they've created, streams they've subscribed to, and canvases that they've created on the editor.
Right, so, and that's going to make it a lot easier for someone who's using, say, a canvas and has built a canvas to then switch into, let's say, the marketplace or vice versa, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it'll just be yeah, a much better user experience, basically.
Excellent. It's not just that's coming. What else is coming?
No, not just that. We've also, as I mentioned, we've redesigned the front end visually, and just the front end architecture of the editor. So that'll be all rebuilt. The front end, anyways, all rebuilt in React. So it's a much more modern app. And here's an example of one of the modules, which I'll talk about in a minute. But just for people who already use the editor, how it works will still be the same. So people who are already familiar with it will still be able to use it. It won't be completely new for them, but it will be radically different in how it looks.
So they don't have to sit there re-educating themselves about how to use the canvases and the modules.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So this is an example of really close-up detail of one of the modules. So we've made some big changes, but even on a minute level. So now everything fits and is designed to align to an 8-point grid. What that means is even the smallest elements, like these ports, they're 8 pixels. So everything's a multiple of 8 pixels, which means, like, so the button might be 40, and it means that everything is consistent and the scaling of everything is consistent. Yeah, so it's, again, much better user experience.
So it's kind of very precise touches, which Matt's sort of famous for, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But, you know, if you take care of the little details like that, you know, when we're building such a big platform, many different parts. If they all use those same elements, then the whole thing will feel a lot more consistent.
Okay. And is there anything else that users should be aware of what's coming down the road then?
On the editor, this is just another view. There's other kind of user experience touches we've implemented. So busy canvases can be hard. It can be hard to see like what's running and what's stopped. But now there'll be a very clear green if it's running and orange if it's stopped, and then the cords connecting will go green if they're running, and they'll be grey. So little touches like that just make it a bit more intuitive.
So cleaner, meaner, leaner.
Yes, yeah, and just it's going to
just meaner,
it's going to make a lot more sense and be
Great.
Visually, just less cluttered and more intuitive to use.
Okay.
So what's coming up down the track? So obviously this is we're aiming to launch this in the first quarter, and we'll also have an update to our website. So there'll be more on the website. We've got some community product stuff to look forward to, and the next stage of the network as well. So
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, but
Right.
really excited to reveal it in the next year.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thank you, Ross.
Thanks, Shiv.
Okay, so while we're waiting for Ben to get his microphone ready, I'm gonna just talk about something else, which is we put out a post, I think, about a month ago, talking about how we were going to become more decentralized. And I think part of that also means, and you obviously can read the post again, it's kind of full of information and stuff that we put together that we thought would be important for Streamr to kind of pursue. We've actually managed to cross a few of those things off that list, which is nice. But I'm wearing my Amisa Go t-shirt. I think you've got to support the space and support other friends and partners in the space, and not just privately, but publicly like this. So, but I also know that we're also using, for tonight, we've used Kickback for the event, which is a bit like, if you don't already know, it's a bit like Eventbrite, but for the Ethereum space. It requires you to sign up using Ethereum and staking something to say you're going to attend an event. We've got a few people who actually also use Kickback here. Hands up. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3. Yes, Henry, I think you also count. 4, and myself, that's 5. That's not bad. So do check it out and use it for your events, especially if you're already in the crypto space. Okay, Ben, next up. So next with me is Ben Sheppard. He's our head of partnerships. So you're the person that everyone in the community wants to speak to. So let me ask you this bluntly. Why is there so little we can actually say about partnerships? Why can't I drag more information from you?
Yeah, it's locked down pretty tight, isn't it? We're on under NDA, so non-disclosure agreements. We are actually doing work. We're not really just, sort of sitting in cafeterias chatting. We're actually very busy.
I saw you today. That's what you were doing. But yes, okay. We'll pass over today.
But no, we actually have a lot of very sort of large-scale partnerships with corporations, with governments, local governments all over the world. And we're really sort of focused in a few different industries. So mobility is one industry that we've looked at quite heavily. And that's really because there's a nucleus of people now in Streamr that have come from the mobility industry itself. So we know the industry pretty well. We've got reputations in there, and we can actually put pilots together in those industries and really have that background knowledge to hopefully make these things really take off in the future. And that's tied in quite well with the smart cities work that we're sort of pushing towards as well, and the work that we can do there.
And in a sense, what are we looking to see from those pilots or those partnerships with those bigger enterprise partners?
Magic.
Magic, yeah. Oh, apart from
No, so we're...
If you give us magic, we'll be fine with that. But in the meantime...
Yeah, so we're with the, I guess with the mobility pilots that we're looking at, there's within their sort of infrastructure and mobility industry, for a long time we've known that vehicles driving around the road network have masses and masses of very valuable real-time data. But that data's been locked up in vehicles, and through Streamr what we can do is actually unlock that data, make it available to governments, make it available to contractors and consultants that all have a vested interest in improving that infrastructure that we have around the world.
And those conversations are not just being had in the abstract at the moment, we're actually really getting ensconced into trying to flesh that out and make that happen, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. We're deep in those conversations and really looking at if we were to, get acceleration data, driver behavior type data, information on where potholes are sort of located on the road network, who would the people be that are interested in that data, how would they use it, how do they need to receive it? So we're really looking at the whole value chain there and how to really make it useful to people, not just, oh, let's go and do a pilot and get some data out of a car. It's really, how does this thing take off and how has it sort of got sustainability to continue long after the pilot? How
do we roll it out for mass adoption? Are we kind of almost there yet with kind of creating that roadmap, do you think?
We are, and that's part of the NDAs. That's sort of why we can't talk too deeply about it. But we're in with some very significant companies around the world working on these things. They know the industry very well. And actually us being a part of this whole ecosystem is great. And if we can prove what we're doing in these pilots is viable, they'll take us along the journey as well. So
I thought one pretty clever question on Telegram yesterday, I think, was, so we've got partnerships with, that we have announced, obviously, in terms of the bigger partners, Nokia and HP have already been announced. Are there big enterprise partners on that scale that we haven't announced yet? That was the question.
Yes. Yeah, there are. There's probably at least half a dozen in there that are nicely progressed, and we're gonna be doing pilots with them next year. And then within our internal sort of pipeline, if you like, there's a whole host of other ones that come across a range of different industries. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would you say maybe out of that 6, but maybe 3 are really solid to the point where you think, look, I mean, again, we don't know what's going to happen, right? So, you broker these relationships and you hope, presumably, they go forward, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the relationships are pretty solid. We've been talking to different organisations for quite a while now, but what the challenge is the pilot itself. So what we're doing is transforming industries with the technology, things like getting this data out of vehicles so that it can be made available to third parties, perhaps having vehicle-to-vehicle communications or vehicle-to-many, so vehicles to smart cities. This is sort of unproven territory, so we're testing this. So on one hand, the relationships are very strong, and I think they really like working with Streamr. We certainly like working with them, but it's about making sure those pilots convert, and so there's a good period of time yet where we're just going to be delivering, and I believe we're doing it the right way. We're sort of locking down, we're focusing and making sure that these things turn around.
Great, thank you, Ben. All right, so next up is Amandine, actually, who's officially left us. He left us on Friday, and I was just going to call her in to say officially, sort of on camera, thank you very much for your service to the Streamr project for almost a year now.
Yes, it's been a year now.
How's it been? Did you enjoy it?
Oh, it was amazing. It was a fantastic opportunity. I mean, I joined Streamr, we were like 10. I think I was number 10 or 11. And now the company grew a lot. Over the past months, we did so many things. I mean, we launched the marketplace in New York. We worked a lot with the community. We did many, many things that I can't even remember everything. Like it was an amazing year.
Did you enjoy New York? Because that was an amazingly kind of intense period, right? We kind of everyone fervently pulling together. You're still traumatized.
Yeah, it was intense. It was very intense, but I love that. I mean, I always love working in when you have a really short time objective and you have to do everything physically possible to make it happen. So I love that, and I really loved this marketplace launch. I mean, yeah, it was an amazing experience. And what was amazing is that we worked all together. It wasn't just a communication thing. It was something that involved the entire team.
That's right. Well, look, thank you very much for all of your time with Streamr. The project thanks you. And to show our thanks, we've got a little gift for you. There you go.
Thank you.
There's 2 things in there. You don't have to open it now, obviously.
Okay.
But thank you very much,
Thank you.
Amandine.
Thanks.
And good luck.
Thanks.
Next up, we've got Francine. She's going to join me. We're going to talk about marketing. So lots of people in the community have been asking, you know, when marketing? Well, now, I guess would be the answer to that.
Right now.
Right now, literally doing it right now. Francine, so thank you very much for coming on board. I think you beat out maybe 50 applicants to the post of to your post of senior digital marketer.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. No, really, no pressure. So tell me, just a little bit for people who don't know you about your background, where you've come from, and what have you done before?
Yeah, so I've been in marketing for upwards of 10 years now. I started out actually in PR and made a little pivot to marketing. I started at Colt Technology Services, Colt Enterprise Services, so I was servicing their product launches. They do a lot, for those of you who don't know about Colt, they do data centers, they do a lot of software as a service, and as part of that work, it was about kind of coordinating our efforts when there are product launches, making sure our story was the same across different regions and territories, working a lot in the digital space, but then also, you know, thinking about what kind of marketing activities and events we might want to put on around launches. As well as Colt, I've done some consultancy work with Dell and AMD in the States. Some of that work was, again, for businesses, but a lot of it was for consumers as well. So Dell was actually for Dell Gaming and Alienware. So that was quite fun, like some of the events that we would put on for them, and meeting all of the people that, you know, all of the gamers that are very passionate about gaming and the tech around that as well. So
in some sense, it's not too different from the crypto community, where a group of people just like, passion. I love this, right?
Yeah, and that's part of what really attracted me to come into working with Streamr, because of the passion that people have about the tech and the space, and just that depth of knowledge and innovation that comes about when you're dealing with, you know, consumers of that type. Yeah.
So you've been here for about 3.5
month. Yeah,
weeks.
Coming up.
Yeah. What have you been doing in this time?
A lot of catching up, a lot of reading, meeting everybody in the team. It's been really, really great getting to know everyone. We've had a really nice session today, just doing some 2019 planning. Some of the things that, you know, we've been looking at as just trying to think about the best way to communicate to the community. So obviously we've got the transmissions that go out. We're thinking about, you know, pivoting from that to a newsletter, just because we find that it's a more, I guess, scalable way to communicate. Yeah. And you can get a lot into that, and it can turn into something that's, you know, really quite familiar in terms of the format as well. So that's something that I'm going to be developing and been looking at lately. Yeah,
and transmissions is a kind of, it's a video, so it's sort of, you're narrowing your audience, and some people like to read, and people like to skim and skip forward to the bit that's relevant to them, and that's sometimes a bit difficult and tricky on YouTube.
Absolutely. So just things like that. You know, Streamr has been doing a lot of great marketing, but it's just maybe getting a bit more robust plan together, and as I say, perhaps just tweaking some things to make sure that we're really getting our message out in the strongest way possible.
Yeah, and looking forward to what we're going to be doing in 2019. It kind of gets really interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So we've obviously got community products coming out, and so I'll be doing a lot with the various teams about promoting that as soon as they're ready. Community products is, I mean, you can perhaps jump in here.
Yeah, it's our way of kind of, if you want crowdsourcing a lot of data into one product. We know that, you know, if you have your mobile phone and you want to sell your GPS data, well, if you create one product on the marketplace, no buyer is going to be seriously interested in that. But if you could suddenly crowdsource all of that into one product, and then redistribute the earnings from that to everyone involved, suddenly you've got a really interesting tool to play with here.
Definitely, and just the fact that there's so many data providers in the one product, it makes it, you know, immediately more interesting. It's a very compelling story. So I look forward to, you know, going out into the market with that and singing it from the rooftops.
Great, thank you. So we'll be hearing more from you later in the year anyway.
Absolutely.
Certainly, probably at the end of Q1 or sometime.
Yeah.
Come and join us again.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Henri. So we've. I think you all know Henri, so I don't think he needs any particular introduction. I see you're not wearing any branded items of clothing today.
There's so many amazing people in the project that what do you need me for anymore?
We can Vitalik out of decentralize Vitalik out of Ethereum. We can decentralize you already out of the project.
Yeah.
Not quite yet. Okay.
Thanks for accepting me here. Still
So look, you've got an announcement to make. I know, and but we've also got a lot of questions from the community. We might actually have some questions here from the audience as well. I don't know if we should sort of privilege them, but let's start with the announcement first. We've been working on it for a while in communications and working with the community for a while, but I think we're kind of ready to announce it more formally, right? Which is the announcement of the
Community Fund.
Ta-da!
Yeah, so just to give you a little bit of background, since the crowdfunding, we've had this pile of kind of earmarked tokens. So there's 10 million data left from the community pool. And from the original amount, some was airdropped a year ago, and now this other half has been kind of sitting there. And we've been thinking how to use that to encourage the community, how to also decentralize the governance processes that we have. Like overall in Streamr, we'd like to spread it out a little bit more. So this is kind of a first step that we can take. So what we're doing is we are putting now 2 million data into this community fund to be spent over the next year. And the fund will be governed by 4 elected community members, plus 1 from the Streamr side, to support projects and individual developers building on the Streamr technology.
And it's kind of interesting because I think, lots of projects have used bounties, for example, to kind of incentivize the community. But this isn't just a giant bounty pool, is it?
No, not really. I mean,
it's something different.
You could use bounties for product development or finding security issues or something like that. And that could come from the community support pool, but that can also come from the actual product development funding. So this is maybe more aimed at some, brave experiments and new ideas, stuff like that people get engaged with, and we can help them develop that.
Yeah, and it's really about, in that sense, because it's going to be run by the community themselves, and it's about empowering them and giving them some resources to do that, right?
Yeah, and I mean, over the very long term, I mean, after the project is done, we'd ideally have the overall project maintained and governed and kind of that eventually decentralized. So we also need to start experimenting about how this kind of co-ownership or collaboration with a larger pool of people interested in the project could work, and the community fund is a great way to start.
Great. So I think we're going to put the details of that, because it's we've obviously got a set of structures that we want the community to use in order to sort of the governance is one end, and what they do with the fund is sort of a different thing, and that's really is up to them. But we're going to put the details of this out there in the next few days.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
The post is written, so I think that's actually Tom, our community manager, is sorting that out. So we'll have that out there. Okay, shall we move to questions?
Yes.
Okay. Remy, who I think you've met before. You met him at TechCrunch and Zug. He asks this: could you explain a bit about the TPS of the current network, Monk, and the potential TPS in the decentralized Streamr network in the near future?
Yeah.
TPS stands for transactions.
Yeah, sure. So obviously we're borrowing the term TPS from the blockchain world, which kind of can't be applied for Streamr since we're not really doing transactions, but instead we are transporting data. So what we can talk about is basically like messages per second, which is maybe something like the TPS referred to here. So basically, in the current network, which is still like kind of like a centralized monolithic system as opposed to the next version, which will be the first peer-to-peer version, things are a little bit easier. We can very easily achieve linear scalability. So there's basically no upper limit to the rate of data that can be produced because the system is scalable. So if we want more throughput, we simply add more nodes, more capacity. And on the peer-to-peer network side, it is the same actually. So it is linearly scalable. So there is no upper limit. We can do anything, you know, from we can do a million events per second. It's really no problem. But on the peer-to-peer network side, the performance is a little bit trickier because there's more redundancy, and there's like things like message duplication that you don't have on the kind of centralized side of things. So that's why we're currently running some pretty interesting experiments at scale using this emulated network thing. So we're able to run like hundreds of nodes that are spread out across the globe and measure some performance metrics from that network. So that's probably something we'll be publishing in Q1 to show some metrics. But it's not directly related to, you know, messages per second kind of metric. Since that's easily scalable, it's more related to like message duplication and how much overhead there is in delivering those messages. Do messages get lost? Do they arrive in correct order, and so on?
So ordering might be something that people understand. If you have lots of nodes acting in a decentralized way, they might not arrange the messages in the right order, right?
Yeah, so the message
on
order is something that the Streamr network will guarantee. But if you're in a setting where basically a node that you're using to receive your data, it's connected to many other nodes and subscribing to that stream. So messages will kind of arrive out of order. You know, if you have messages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then node A will send you message 1, and message 2, and then node B will send you message 1 again. So you have message duplication. So this is a feature you have in this kind of random topology networks. And then, you know, node C might send you message 5, and then you need to figure out like
that is message 5.
That is message 5, and you're missing some messages. You need to re-request that, and so on. So these things affect the performance and the latency we get on the network, and only by running a real network or can we get like real metrics. But also on this emulated network, we can come pretty close to an actual like large-scale peer-to-peer network.
And that's going to be exciting, running that emulation. How long is it going to take to run it? Is it just a quick exercise?
Yeah, basically you just spin up a machine on the cloud, run some, you know, artificial load on the network and make those measurements. So we can do them in kind of rapid succession. And also any optimization we make to the peer-to-peer network topology will be evident in the measurements. Like if there's an optimization to make in how the network operates, we should see like latency going down, number of message duplication going down, and so on.
Great. So we might take a question or two from the audience in a second. So if you do have them, put your hand up. Have a good think. I'm kind of jumping. Yes, there's already one question there. I'm going to ask this one, which is from Jason Valfen on Reddit. The team mentioned that the marketplace is not the main focus. What other aspects will be focused on in 2019?
Yeah, I mean, for the past 6 months, the marketplace has not really been the focus, since in the summer we decided to build this first peer-to-peer version of the network. The marketplace has been in partial focus, so we've kind of been spread out between, building the next version of the network and making the redoing the user interface for the app, as well as building community products, which obviously is something related to the marketplace. So it certainly hasn't been completely forgotten, nor will it be. Actually, community products is something that we think will add a unique feature to the marketplace. I mean, every platform is looking for the killer app, right? Whatever can make it great. And community products essentially enabling data crowdsourcing is something that I'm really looking forward to next year.
And it's sort of fascinating because it is actually something that you can only really do with something like crypto, because if you're redistributing payments from one place to many other people, you can't really do that using fiat, right?
Not really. And we're talking like pretty much micropayments there. So you can't even easily do it on the Ethereum blockchain. So maybe there was a question about that as well, but we've been building this kind of layer 2 scaling solution that internally we've been calling Monoplasma, because it has like it's kind of plasma-esque thing that it's doing. I'm not sure if that will be the final name, but let's see. And yeah,
we'll come to that in a second then.
More about that.
Jason also asks, if you look back into 2018, what was the biggest thing that you learned?
Well, looking back at this year, I think I've learned a crazy amount of things, but I've been positively surprised by how we were able to build the team into this stable size that we have now, and how we managed to, in the first half of the year, we were all working for the marketplace, which got launched in May, and that was actually an amazing experience, and proved that as a team we have the right people here. If we focus on something, we can definitely deliver things in record time. And for the second half of the year, we've now been more spread out, working on different things, and both models actually work. So the learning there is that definitely this team can deliver like no other.
Yay to the team! Yay!
So that's great. Maybe I also learned. Maybe I also learned something about the market. I mean, it's interesting how unrelated the market is to what projects are doing on the kind of fundamental level. Somebody I spoke to compared to like this, this dog whistle, like this ultrasound whistle. No matter how much you blow into it, it makes no sound, and that's funny. So projects can do like amazing things. They can start partnerships, they can ship products, they can do whatever, and it doesn't necessarily get reflected on the market because it seems to have some kind of ultrasound life of its own. And if you look at DataCoin, for example, it's mainly just following the general market wherever it goes, and that's kind of surprising, but maybe it's like a consequence of the bubble that was going on, because in a bubble, like, no fundamentals matter at all. Like everything is just crazy and nothing makes any sense, and no one is listening to any reason whether it's good or bad. Everything is just. But now that the hot air has been kind of blown off, maybe a kind of maturity phase will follow, where project fundamentals and product development and actual users and partnerships and so on will make a difference.
I think you saw some of that, right, reflected going to Prague just last month at DevCon 4, right? You kind of got this sense that it didn't really matter what the price was. People were there, and there's thousands of people there building away.
Especially in the down market. I mean, the spirit that we had at DevCon 4 was like better than ever. Everyone
Yeah.
was excited about building stuff, shipping stuff, changing the world, and so on. And nobody, not in one sentence, mentioned like token prices or Ethereum and Bitcoin and whatever. And that that wasn't the case before. Like every conference you went to, people were, if you listen into any conversation, they're talking about price, right? But that was completely gone now, which is, to me, it's a positive change, because it does signal that we're entering like a more mature phase.
And it gets people to focus on users, right? And trying to onboard those people instead of simply kind of a lot more speculation and, Floyd Mayweather, right, as a sponsor.
So why aren't more people using dApps, right? That's the big problem. So, well, we've been focusing, not we, but I mean the space has been focusing on attracting speculators and making a lot of noise and making a lot of hype, but no one has actually focused on attracting users for the things they're building, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Question from the audience. I'll try and repeat it. Henry, you want to pass the mic?
Yeah.
See if that works.
Cool. Thank you. My name's Chris Hobcroft. Really cool what you guys are doing. Henry, you obviously spend a lot of time thinking about like live data and sharing it via blockchain-based systems. What for you is like the most inspiring potential use case for Streamr? Like the Nirvana use case that when that happens, you'll be like, boom.
Oh, I love that question. The Nirvana use case. We need that on like our website. It's a special like egg, like on the website.
You can use that
Easter egg.
open source. It's fine.
Well, thanks, Chris. It's a tricky question. I mean, I don't know if there's any single holy grail in there. It's more like the current situation is that we have a bunch of silos everywhere. And the holy grail for me would be to actually see all those different use cases come together onto a platform where new innovation can happen. Like data from different sources could be combined to create something completely new. But maybe to give some kind of answer to that, I'm super excited about like bringing things closer to the end user so that they could sell their data. Community products is a big development towards that end. It doesn't need to be tied to a specific use case, even though we're working around car data and traffic and mobile data and location stuff and so on.
We've got people in our community obviously working on stuff that's just related to that.
Yeah, actually.
Ross, is it possible to play the? Thank you.
That's actually a good point. So the real holy grail or nirvana moment would be to have the community build stuff, build like things in between, such as this guy. He's a community called Gang, and he made this app. It's kind of like a prototype, but showing like the glue that can be built in between something like Fitbit in this case and the Streamr network and the Streamr marketplace. So if we can engage independent third parties like Gang, like there could be thousands of these people out there, and if they can get this idea and start bridging between the old world where your Fitbit data goes to the Fitbit's cloud and it's available via an API to you only, if you can bridge that and an open network where data can be pooled, it can be sold, you can earn by connecting your data there, then every use case imaginable will basically become a feasible use case for monetization. So maybe that's the holy grail. Like, it's not about what we do, it's about what people like Gang do.
And just to explain what Gang has been up to, actually, Ross, do you want to play that one more time? Is that all right? Sure. And you might have to hang there so you can flick it back to the marketplace view.
I can stand here and block you.
Yeah. It's what he's done there is he's got his own Fitbit device and he wanted to send that data to the marketplace to be sold. And so he, at first, created a whole load of code that he shared with everyone, and he said, look, if you just use this, then you can manage to do it. And then he thought, well, actually, why don't I create an application to make it easy for anyone else to actually take their own Fitbit data. So if you have a Fitbit at home, you can try and use this application. The details of all of this will be up in the next few days as well, right?
And this will become immensely more powerful with community products, because now this application, it's basically like creating a product per person. Like, this is Henri's data, and that's not a very attractive product on the marketplace. You only for a buyer, So you only get like data from one person, and that's why this data needs to be pooled so that we can create this kind of honeypot that attracts buyers and distributes the payments fairly to the data providers.
And in a sense, that's exactly what, for example, Twitter or Facebook does. They're like, hey, we aggregate all of this data, and then we'll sell it to a whole lot of other people without you even knowing about it, right? That's the problem. So this is a permissioned system where people go, yeah, you know what, I do want to sell my data. I'm happy to do it.
Yeah. And they also get the reward.
And they get the rewards for it, more importantly, right? And so we're giving them the tools to, in effect, do what those big corporate data giants
this is
do.
the path to fair data monetization, really.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been possible before.
No. That's your Nirvana use case for you. A question from Big Money 92.
Really? Big Money 92.
Big Money 92. I mean, why not 99 at that point, or 8 million? So I would like to learn more about your Plasma implementation. In the September blog update, you talked about your own monoplasma solution. Can you elaborate a bit more?
Yeah, so maybe
that relates to community products, right?
Yeah, it does. It's at the core of community products, and it actually relates only to that. So maybe I'll first talk about why we needed to build this. Well, I actually already mentioned it before, but in community products, you could have like a big number of data providers, like let's say thousands. And when someone buys that product, that money needs to be distributed among the data providers. And you cannot do this on chain because those transactions would become so big, they would cost so much gas that they wouldn't even fit into blocks. So that's basically impossible to do on chain. So we need like a layer 2 solution, which means that the state, which means the distribution of money, is held in an off-chain system, and owners of that value, like a data provider, like me, for example, I can go and I can prove on the chain that I have a certain value, certain number of tokens on the side chain or on the side channel.
Yeah, that are already allotted to you, right?
Yes, yes. So this is what we started building, and we were looking at different existing solutions, but we had some special requirements and as well as some special things that made it a little bit easier for us, because we didn't need to solve the kind of general problem of having a layer 2 payment system. So the easy thing for us was that we don't have transfers between accounts on the sidechain, so we basically don't get the double spending problem. So we were able to take a bit of shortcuts in that sense, because we only have these repetitive patterns of distributing a payment among many people, like doing like constant airdrops. Every time someone buys a product, we airdrop to the data providers. That's effectively what's happening. So the data providers,
it's like a dividend, right? I mean, it's the same sort of mechanism.
So this is the same pattern as revenue sharing or dividends or airdrops or you name it. So on the sidechain, you get like monotonically increasing balances for accounts. That's why we dubbed it Monoplasma internally. Why we dubbed it Plasma is because it has kind of a similar idea that you can prove your balance on the side channel by providing the Merkle proof for your balance to the on-chain smart contract. But now, to be clear, it's not really the same thing as Plasma. It's like resembles or inspired by. So it's not an implementation of Plasma, and it's not exactly certain should we use that name or name it something different. But
no,
but let's see. Let's see what happens. But anyway, that's why we built it, and it's in pretty advanced stage at the moment. So I think we'll publish it definitely in Q1. So we're gonna go to this event, ETH Denver, in February, and there we'll talk more about it, and there will probably be an associated blog post about it, as well as open sourcing it. So it's a reusable thing. Anyone could apply it for their own needs, I don't know, airdrops. You could have it on your Telegram channel, and every time somebody says, I don't know, to the moon, then it rains tokens or whatever. You can
build that.
You can do whatever you want with it. We're not going to build that particular thing, but
should take away the tokens every time it says to the moon. In a sense, Tom, I want to ask you: are we getting any other questions that we need to pay attention to from the community right now? And are we okay? Yeah, we're all right. All right, he's giving me the thumbs up. I've got a number of other questions left. We're going to probably just take one more, unless we've got something from the audience. You've already had your go. No, we're okay. Okay, so I'm going to ask one from Ethereum CPW. Did you have your hand up?
Well,
no.
Sort of, but it is not. It's a
Let me wait. Hang on. Let the mic come to you.
Okay, right. Because I'm not part of the community, I'm
you're
kind of
you're part of the community. You had some beer. That's it. You're bought in for life.
Oh God! Excellent. I belong somewhere. It was really interesting. I went to another social media thing, and there's a massive, great growth in voice activated control, and they was talking about that over superseding apps that go on your mobile phone and your computer. Have you thought about this voice activation, because it's massively, hugely growth, with the Alexa and the Googles, and there's about 5 others coming through.
It's interesting because, taking up on that last point, right, people are happily and willingly putting, I know a number of neighbors of mine who are like, yeah, I've got Alexa in my home, and I ask Google all sorts of stuff, and you're like, this is horrifying, right, because these things, the gadgets are evidently spying on you. And you know that they're spying on you because they have to listen to you and everything that you do in case you say, hey, Alexa. And that's obviously a kind of almost antithesis, in a sense, of what we're pitching to, leaving the tech aside almost.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many aspects to that question. There's the privacy question, there's a usability question, and the balance of those two things. Also the feature that we have today on many mobile phones and other widgets, it's kind of controversial, right? It enables us to do things. It produces a lot of data about us, and maybe that's data that could actually be controlled by the people using those devices and made available to outsiders in the kind of fashion that the marketplace enables. Would actually be also interesting to have voice control integration on some data producing apps. Somebody, you could produce data points to Streamr just by commanding your device, whatever product, I bought beer for $5 or something, and then you could get a view of beer price around the city or whatever.
There's another aspect of that, which is also, in a sense, centralization, or things being centralized has made things very convenient, right? So convenience and centralization have gone kind of very hand in hand, in the realization that people want things to be convenient, to be easy, to be quick, right? Like, here, take my thumbprint, do this, do that, right? Then they've also given up their sort of privacy, their security, their sort of, if you want, their freedom of their data.
Yeah, exactly. It's a balance between usability and privacy sometimes. But maybe that pattern can be broken. Like there could be, let's say, a third-party AI that can interpret your voice commands into, you know, API calls or whatever is needed to make them work, instead of having it in these closed ecosystems such as, you know, Apple's or Amazon's and so on. So it's actually, yeah, there could be even competing voice recognition like AIs out there forming consensus on what it was that you actually meant.
Okay, the hour is closing in. It's the last question. We've got one from Ethereum CPW. Is having a dedicated effort of adding lots of already existing and free real-time data streams to the marketplace something that makes good sense in order to increase the available selection?
Yeah, I think so.
We actually talked about that today, didn't we?
Yeah. So the marketplace is not only a place to do business, it's also a view, it's kind of a window into what content is there, what content is flying around in the Streamr network. And it can easily act as a kind of sparking innovation and ideas for people who are getting onto the platform, or, you know, just exploring, seeing what's out there, trying to come up with new ideas, how to, you know, improve their existing businesses or whatever. So having a lot of free data in there would be primarily a source of innovation in my mind, and that's hugely important, because we could build this system that actually hosts like all the free data streams in the world into one place, exactly following that kind of unsiloing idea that is kind of underlying to everything that we're doing.
And in fact, from our community, Ross, one of our sort of oldest and most interesting community members, he's actually been working on a little bit of a sort of side project, if you want, with pollution data, and he's told us today that hopefully he can get something like, what, 10,000 streams, pollution streams.
Yeah, from 68 countries or something like this.
Yeah, and he's already integrated. He has just published it on the marketplace.
Yeah, this is important work, and it will make something that's not visible today, it will make it more visible and more accessible. So when people get their hands on this kind of data more easily, it will kind of lower the threshold to build new stuff on top of that data.
Yeah, and that unified view that we were watching earlier on, which isn't there now, obviously, that I referenced it, but that's also really important, right? Because it just makes it easier to sort of go browse the marketplace, see what's there, see what's available, and bring it into your canvas, right?
Yeah, in the tooling that we're building, like, of course, the network is underlying and enabling all of that, just like the companion blockchain. But in the tooling, I think the power comes from the seamless interoperability of the marketplace and the editor, because traditionally it's been the problem that even if you get your hands on some interesting data, it's actually hard to, you know, start to build prototypes and get your hands dirty with that data. So having the tooling in place so that you can kind of seamlessly look at what's on the marketplace, get some data from there, build a prototype in 5 minutes, and of course vice versa. Like you can add something to the marketplace and build the integration using the editor. So that, to me, that sounds very powerful. And of course there are still like usability problems, and even now that the editor gets a new kind of visual look, it's still not like completely redone, and it's not completely, you know, amazing, but it still can do a lot of things that should benefit especially the explorer persona.
Great. Thank you, Henri. Thank you very much to everyone here in our community venue in London. Thank you very much to everyone joining us on the live stream. Thank you for those who are about to watch the live stream, not so live anymore in the next week or so. And thank you to everyone who supported us this year in 2018. Let's move forward to 2019 and hope for the best. Yay!
Let's do it. Thanks for joining.
Right. This is the bit where we pretend to chat while we're still on camera. No, are we still on? We're still on. Oh, we're still on. Look at that. See, who knew?
Christmas cracker joke time.
So which song are you performing for us tonight?